Welcome to another episode of China Update, where I provide you guys with the most up-to-date political, economic and geostrategic analysis on the world's number 2 economy. My name is Tony. Let's jump in. Okay, happy Friday everybody. Let's start with the housing crisis, and there are some major developments to cover. China's largest developer by sales, Country Garden Holdings Limited, has warned in a filing made public yesterday, Thursday, that first half-yearly earnings probably plunged as much as an incredible 70%. The Guangdong-based company said core profit will likely be between 4.5 billion yuan, $664 million to 5 billion yuan in the first half of 2022, compared to over 15.2 billion yuan during the same period last year. Almost 4/5 of the builder's land bank is in so-called Tier 3 and Tier 4 cities, and we remember that these cities have seen the worst performance this year in terms of both sales and prices. If we required any further evidence of just how grave a state the industry is in, this admission from Country Garden is yet another huge red flag. Quote, Country Garden, once considered among China's safer real estate companies, has been engulfed by the sector's unraveling following regulatory crackdowns and pandemic restrictions that have pummeled housing sales. The developer lost its last investment grade rating after Fitch Ratings downgraded it to junk on Tuesday. End quote. Due to the systemic nature of the crisis, analysts expect many other private developers will issue huge profit declines too. Country Garden's Hong Kong-listed shares are down almost 70% year-on-year, and most of its US dollar bonds are trading at below 35 cents on the dollar. And we remember that some traded near face value earlier this year. Now, speaking of share prices and housing developers, large Chinese mutual fund manager Hua'an Fund Management Co. Limited has joined others in the industry in announcing write-downs of some Hong Kong-listed property stocks included in their exchange-traded funds, or ETFs. Most notably is the slashing of value of shares in 4 distressed property companies from 69% to 99%. The mutual fund expressed on Wednesday that shares of China Evergrande Group and its property services unit, Evergrande Property Services Group Limited, each have a so-called fair value of just 1 cent. Shimao Group Holdings Limited fair value was marked down almost 70% too, to $1.33 per share. This is Hong Kong dollars. Once and if the shares resume trading again, they will be valued at market prices. Quote, the mutual fund manager joins a growing list of fund managers that have lowered valuations of the shares of developers in their portfolios as the crisis in the Chinese mainland property sector deepens and more companies default on their bonds. They include China Universal Asset Management Co. Limited, China Asset Management Co. Limited, and Basera Asset Management Co. Limited. End quote. Meanwhile, Soho China, a leading office builder, is reporting a rise in vacancy rates for its major office projects in Tier 1 cities Beijing and Shanghai, another sign of concern for the commercial property market. We can see one of their distinctive buildings on screen here. According to the company's first half financial report released Wednesday, 7 of the 8 Soho projects in Beijing and Shanghai recorded higher vacancy rates in the first 6 months of 2022. The average occupancy rate in Beijing was 75.8%, down 3.75% from Q4 last year, and Shanghai was 86.3%, down 7% since the end of last year. The firm blamed the drops on disruptions caused by zero-COVID implementation, which is exactly what we will be discussing next. Hey guys, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit the like button, and for anyone who wants to go the extra mile and help me keep China Update sustainable or really show your appreciation for the channel, Patreon and Buy Me a Coffee links are in the description below. As always, thank you so much everybody for the ongoing support. Next up, it's been a tough summer for local officials and residents in many localities across the country, pursuing zero-COVID policy under the beating sun. This week, official daily COVID cases reached a 3-month high, and the water levels of the mighty Yangtze River reached a 60-year low. Let's start with the outbreaks. Dozens of cities across the country are now dealing with outbreaks of varying sizes and implementing restrictions and lockdowns of varying degrees. The southern island province of Hainan and Tibet remain the worst hit. China registered over 3,400 new daily cases on Wednesday, marking the highest daily increase in the past 90 days. Yesterday, official cases moderated somewhat to over 2,600. Tibet, like Hainan, is a popular domestic tourist location, and this outbreak, also like Hainan's Sanya city outbreak, has stranded many Chinese tourists. Due to the limited experience of pandemic control measures and limited medical resources, the region has struggled to handle large numbers of COVID test samples from locals and tourists, delaying test results and keeping many visitors stuck in hotels. According to Tibet's tourism department, more than 9,000 tourists have been stranded in some regions. Xiamen in Fujian province, also a popular tourism city, we may be seeing a pattern here, started 3 rounds of citywide testing for COVID-19 from Wednesday to Friday, today, after the discovery of a small group of cases. It was also reported online that officials in Xiamen were testing the fish for COVID, news which attracted derision from some Chinese netizens online, with one popular comment on Weibo observing, somewhat tongue-in-cheek, quote, "It appears COVID affects the brain as well as the lungs," end quote. Many universities, mainly located in northwest China's Shanxi province, northeast Liaoning and Jilin provinces, east China's Fujian province, and southern China's Guangdong province, have announced delays to their fall semesters due to COVID concerns. Now to the heat waves. According to the National Climate Center, as of August 15th, China has seen 64 days of regional heat waves, topping the previous record of 62 days in 2013. China's historic drought is leading to spreading power outages, especially in regions in the southwest which rely on hydroelectric power, just as power demand spikes. According to the state-run Sichuan Daily, for example, local officials expect power demand in the province to rise by a quarter in August as tens of millions of residents increase their usage of AC. While officials have tried to limit power rationing to industrial users only, which comes with its own trade-offs, some residential areas are already experiencing power outages, sometimes for hours. For example, residential and office areas in Dazhou, population 5.4 million people, were informed of rotating brownouts, each lasting several hours this week. In nearby Chongqing, the city recorded a high temperature of 45 degrees Celsius on Thursday, a new record high. And it is not just the southwest that is feeling the heat. State-run Xinhua reports today that drought conditions triggered by sustained hot weather and low rainfall in East China's Jiangxi province have reduced China's largest freshwater lake, Poyang, by 75%, and experts believe this reduction will continue as high temperatures in the province are expected to continue until September. Quote, "It is expected that in September, water inflows in the middle and lower reaches of the Yangtze will still be low, and the drought in Anhui, Hubei, Hunan, and Jiangxi could develop further." End quote. What is perhaps the most shocking is that the Yangtze River Basin is facing low water levels in what is normally the flood season. We remember that North China has always suffered from acute water shortages, but droughts of this scale in the south are quite novel for modern China. Vice Premier and Politburo Standing Committee member Han Zheng has, quote, urged stronger policy support and solid efforts to ensure the energy and power supply in the country, end quote, during an inspection visit of the State Grid Corporation of China this week, also expressing that, quote, the sector is currently at a critical junction as electricity supply and demand have repeatedly hit record highs due to extreme weather events in some regions, end quote. This all highlights yet again the complexities involved in energy security policy across the country and the likely result that Beijing will choose to double down on coal. Quote, we believe the recent power outage caused by the heatwave in Sichuan and Chongqing highlights again the strategic importance of coal power, at least in the short term, in ensuring the nation's power supply security. End quote. Okay, that is today's episode of China Update. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. I will see you all tomorrow.